Hey, it's Raskus here, and after a successful summoning ritual and almost dying after going so monkey that it'd make any creationist doubt their beliefs, I'm alive and now coherent enough to talk about the Splatoon 3 trailer. I honestly wasn't expecting to put out another video until next month because I'm a university student who has a job and I have real-world obligations, but holy shit guys, it's Splatoon 3, it'd be a crime for me to not talk about it as soon as possible. Frankly, we're all on the same page of not knowing what the hell is going on in Splatoon 3 based off of one trailer. Your guess is as good as mine. So I guess I'll just give my opinions, point out things I've noticed that some might have missed, some theories I've heard, and give some speculation of my own, so let's go. So first off, I'm really glad they went with the choose your style approach rather than are you a boy or a girl? Because I mean, I'm not. Hisashi Nogami, the creator of Splatoon, is also the creator of Animal Crossing, so I was really hoping they'd use the same progressive approach, so yeah, they did. Cool. And we also have increased skin and eye color options, which is always nice, and it looks like we have these gradient options for the eyes. It seems very deliberate that they didn't show us what these new options look like. I'm really curious about the ones on the far right over here with the color other than black as like this sub-color. Guess we'll have to see what that is later. And of course the hair is now unisex, which is really great. I mean, there is no reason to limit it in the first place. More options for everyone. I actually did a mock-up of this about 2 years ago, so I'm very glad this is now a real thing. It just seems for the best to let everyone use the same hair. I mean, why not? These new hairstyles look a lot more complex, and I'll talk a bit more about Tentacles later. And now, little buddy. I have quite a bit to say about this, and I'm gonna tie it back to my Salmonid lore video. I hope you guys watched that and remember that. Please watch it if you haven't. In that video, I suggested that small fry may be small but mature salmonid. Well, it's finally been officially confirmed that they are juveniles, and I was wrong. Cool. I'm glad to have official word though instead of vagueness. I'm gonna guess he's not an infant or a baby, but yeah, maybe young in the sense that the playable Inklings are young, maybe even a little bit younger than that. No idea, just guessing. But anyways, I like his funny hair and the model is definitely higher poly than the one we have in Splatoon 2. I really hope he's not treated like a pet, like that one piece of official art that I just hate. I hope he's literally your little buddy, like a friend. The official Twitter post describes it as a symbiotic relationship and not a pet, so I do have some hope for this. Salmonid are sentient and intelligent, and I have faith that the devs will not forget that fact. An official tweet also mentions that, yeah, we don't know how this Salmonid is tagging along with this Inkling. Something else I mentioned in my Salmonid lore video that I didn't think to see was Salmonid walking around Inkopolis, because apparently unauthorized contact with them is illegal, and according to Nogami, they're culturally different and doing their own things. It says right there in the tweet that their studies have long shown that salmonids are dangerous, so based on all the established canon we had before, I had every right to speculate that we wouldn't see salmonids, like, walking around the city. Well, it looks like there's a chance I'm wrong about that one, but I also would argue that it feels too early to tell. I mean, Splatsville is a city that's far from Inkopolis, so maybe they just don't have those same laws against salmonid that Inkopolis does? Or maybe our player character is the only one with a salmonid friend. Like how you play as Agent 3 or as Agent 4, but there's only one Agent 3 and 4, and everyone else you encounter is not. Or the laws were lifted for some plot reason that we have yet to see. Or some other reason. Either way, I'm super excited that we're going to get some more actual salmonid lore. And god, I am thankful there's no signs of salmonlings being a thing yet. Please, no salmonlings, please. One more idea to be had about this little lad. Comparing him with the small fry in Splatoon 2, he doesn't have a red snout, the belly markings seem to have a smoother gradient, and the pants aren't such a bright yellow-green. Something else I mentioned in my Salmonid video is that what if the Salmonids we see in Splatoon 2 are in a spawning phase and they actually have a duller colored non-spawning phase just like real-world salmon? Maybe the salmon runs are totally off-season in the time of Splatoon 3. This could be baseless guessing here, but I mean, that's all we can really do at this point, so yeah. Moving on. As for this shot, it's way too early and too vague to really know what's happening here. Is this a tutorial? The story mode? Is this how you got to Splatsville? Is this a more open world approach to Splatoon we've been hoping for? Something there is a lot to say about is this Eiffel Tower, which has led to everyone making jokes about hating the French, which is really funny. Please keep making them. It's been incredibly rare for us to get landmarks familiar to us that could potentially pinpoint the location on Earth more precisely where the events of Splatoon takes place. In Splatoon 2, we've had some vague Japan references, like there's a Mount Nantai, which is the same name as an actual mountain in Japan, but it's kind of unclear if it's the exact same one. There's also a map of Lake Biwa on a logo in Splatoon 2, but I don't really know if that means anything. But going to Splatoon 3, wow, it's the actual Eiffel Tower. Or is it? What if this isn't France? And I have a few reasons that leads me to believe that we can't be 100% sure that this used to be Paris. I think I'll go in depth on that later. Our next scene, we have a dinky train station, and you hop aboard and head towards the city of Splatsville. I honestly blew up a little seeing this funny fish guy. I don't know what species he is, haven't really dug into that. Can't be too sure. I've always wanted to have more NPCs of different species on the surface world of Splatoon, even if you couldn't really interact with them. Octo Expansion did fulfill my wishes, but I wanted to see that, like, in the context of the main city that the Inklings are in. I'm really hoping this means we finally get more of that, but again, too soon to say, but fingers crossed. Alright, then we get this epic city cinematic. My immediate thought was that it reminded me of this one part of Hong Kong that I've seen pictures of. It just really has that vibe going on. Like, come on, it has to be based on it. It looks like a bunch of apartment complexes here. I mean, people have been wanting apartments since Splatoon 1 days, so maybe now's the time. Would be nice. Would be nice. Looks like some shops on the bottom, but of course I don't know what exactly. Looks like a moped shop down there with some mopeds parked outside. Could be significant, could be nothing. There's what looks like a gate topped with a blue ceramic pig. That probably leads to something. Look, there's not really anything I can say about this. We just straight up know nothing. We have our matchmaking lobby place. What I noticed down to the bottom left, though, I think is a train station? It would make sense since you came in on a train in the trailer. If this is a train station, it would be nice if it was something we can use. Like maybe it's how you access the story mode. No idea! Also, we have this snake statue thing wearing a crown. I presume it's also a deity like the turtle and crane and the fox and tanuki. And it really fits in with this desert environment we have going on here. Something else I want to mention about the city is that in this Nintendo of America tweet, it's called the City of Chaos, and that its development has rapidly accelerated since the final Splatfest a year and a half ago. I've already seen people be like, oh, it's not the Eiffel Tower, that's Inkopolis Tower, or Inkopolis got totally destroyed, that's why all the Inklings moved there. I would bet money that Inkopolis still exists. Again, it's just far away from the Inklings, they've moved to Splatsville for clout or something. And I think these tweets imply that the city was not built from the ground up in a year and a half. That's just kind of ridiculous. It just got developed a whole lot in a short time span, and that this was an already existing region. I'm mentioning all this because I have already seen people make theories that contradict this information. So I just thought I would clarify that. With it being considered like a city of chaos, I just can't help but think about a potential city of order. So I was on Team Order, mainly because, like everyone else, I had a really strong feeling that whatever team won, it would influence the story of Splatoon 3. And I really like the whole aesthetic of Team Order. Like, I thought it could lead to, like, a cyberpunk setting, or have, like, a Y2K vibe, and I am so into that rather than a Mad Max aesthetic. I was really worried that they would just make it silly and hammy on the Mad Max vibes when I found out that Chaos won. But it actually looks like a really cool, like a clustered urban place. And I really like that they have somewhat subverted my expectations and took this approach. Still, I already want to have my hands on the art of Splatoon 3 because I would totally imagine they have drawn up concepts for a City of Order. So in this shot of the main area from another angle, we get a better look at this long-headed jellyfish, and it looks a lot like some that we first got introduced to in the Deep Sea Metro. Have some denizens of the deep made it to the surface? Was that big-eyed fish on the trailer earlier also a former deep-sea inhabitant? Or maybe this is part of the sun having profound effects on its inhabitants, like maybe we'll also see some funny-looking sea creatures that have adapted to harsh environment. Battle areas, which according to the tweet are now more out in nature. And we have these flying mini spawn points. This seems like more of a recent invention, and they ditched their old spawn points. In the second art book, there's a diagram for how spawn points work, and it's basically just an espresso machine but with concentrated ink packets. Yeah, it looks like the same mechanism here. Since we can't jump in wherever from spawn, I predict that beacons won't come back. Going back to this previous shot of the city, I want to talk about some logos. I mean, that's a logo to a snack company, if I recall correctly. I don't really think that's significant, though. But what I do think is significant is this. This is an Octarian company. Perhaps more Octarian tech has been integrated into Inkling society now that the tensions have been loosened between the two species over the few years since Octolings began coming to the surface en masse. I mean, who else has the technology to make stuff float around? Octarians! I don't want to talk a whole lot about the new gameplay mechanics. I mean, we have this new squid roll maneuver to leap and twirl out of the ink, and this super fast wall climb called the squid surge. We also have old weapons with a new look to them, and of course like this ink bow, which looks like a kind of charger pretty much, but with 3 shots, and it got this fishing reel. It looks pretty swag. Some old specials have also returned, notably Inkzuka, but not with ink tornadoes, and some new ones, like whatever the hell is going on here, and time for crab. With these closer up shots, I want to talk a bit about the tentacles. This style seems to have grill tentacles, which is something that was in the concept art for Splatoon 2 and was scrapped. So it's nice to see it come back, finally. Tentacle braids was also something explored in concept art for Splatoon 2 and was scrapped, but now it's not. Also something to note is the tentacle tips. In Splatoon 1, it was some color that complemented the ink color. In Splatoon 2, it was like the same color all around, just like a blacker, darker color at the end. In Splatoon 3, it looks like tentacles reflect the opposite team color. So that's basically the whole trailer, so now I'm going to go back and talk about this Eiffel Tower thing again. I mean, for one thing, why or how did it collapse like this? Was there an earthquake? A bombing during one of mankind's many wars? Did it flood and then the tides receded again? Or is it just a simple fact of millennia of neglect leading to the infrastructure deteriorating? So if the ice caps were to melt, which they did in the world of Splatoon, it's predicted that the sea level would rise about 70 meters. When I was checking some hypothetical flood maps, looking at Paris, yeah, it's gone. Don't know how the Eiffel Tower would survive that, and for all we know, the sea levels have risen even higher than that. And of course, the climate looks absolutely nothing like that part of Europe, but really the Earth's climate is just screwed in the world of Splatoon, so I'm not going to cite that as a valid reason. Aside from the flooding though, there's something else that leads me to believe that this might not be Paris. It's because we have this pyramid in the background, and I don't think Paris has pyramids. But you know what else has pyramids and the Eiffel Tower? Well, there's 2 places on Earth actually that I can think of and could be relevant here. Remember how I mentioned that the city of Splatsville reminds me of Hong Kong? Well, a Chinese Splatoon fan pointed out that in a city very close to Hong Kong, there's a place called the World of Wonder, and that has replicas of the Eiffel Tower, and there's pyramids. And it's just a train ride away from the walled city in Hong Kong. But the issue I have with this idea though is that these areas are very coastal, and it seems like they would have flooded if all the ice caps melted. And the Splatlands look very dry, like they look pretty far from the ocean from what I can tell. So an alternate theory for where the Splatlands are located, and one that I think is most likely based off this pyramid, is Vegas. Las Vegas is also a place known to have a replica of the Eiffel Tower and the pyramids. Additionally, it's a place that's very inland, and even in the event of an insane sea level rise, it would still be above ground. Not to mention, it's a place that's already known to be a harsh desert. And getting word from folks on Twitter who have been in the Las Vegas area, they suggest that the rock formations also kind of look similar to those found around Vegas or in Utah. I like this Vegas idea a whole lot, but ultimately this is all just speculation based on the real world, and something I like to emphasize again and again is that we can't be too sure about using what we know about Earth now as a solid basis for what's happened in the Splatoon world. Don't forget, mankind had a telepathic immortal cat in 5 world wars before pretty much all mammals became extinct. This is a work of fiction, and you just have to suspend your disbelief and accept whatever the creators tell you is the truth about this world, and hope that the lore doesn't contradict itself. And if it does, hope there's a good justification for it. Like how it's unrealistic that all these sea creatures have evolved into sentience in the span of only 10,000 years. Maybe some equally insane and unlikely geographic changes has happened on Earth in that time span as well. Until we have a map of Earth and the Splatoon world, any sort of confirmation in-game or by the developers, we can't say anything for sure. And what I just said applies to basically everything that I have speculated about this trailer. Some of my speculations here could age poorly, I'm just taking shots in the dark here. This probably isn't even everything there is to say, but these are the main things that have come to my mind. But if I'm wrong, I don't mind, really. I'm honestly just having a lot of fun here, and I am so glad to finally have some new official Splatoon content after deep diving for scraps of Splatoon lore for the past few years. I mean, we haven't really gotten much of anything since mid-2019. It just feels so great and unreal to finally have something new and big in Splatoon content to look forward to. And I have a feeling they're going to throw some more information at us here and there up until the game's release. I'm so excited, guys. I really am. Anyways, that's all for now. These past couple weeks I went from 100 subs to like over 2,000, and that's kind of insane. And I hope you guys stick around because I definitely got more to say about Splatoon. So, thanks for watching.